What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? Good to see you, gang. Welcome to a Wednesday show. Hope your weeks are going well. Happy hump day. Colin Sutherland on time for once. Yeah, I'm basically on time. It's like 30 seconds, 45 seconds late getting started there, but on time for us. I think that's fair to say. Hey, give me a quick heads up. How does the microphone sound weird, or are we okay microphone-wise, volume-wise? I accidentally hit the little knob on the thing. I always like to make sure because there's no real indicator of where it's supposed to be. It's just kind of a blank wheel. Let me know on that. Let me know how things sound. Handful of people here hanging out. Sounds good? Excellent. Cujo is here. Monty's here. Colin, Kenneth Woodhouse, Elastic is here. Beyond the Rabbit Hole. Good to see everybody. Unscheduled day off yesterday for the show. I was working on stuff behind the scenes. I was working on a little filter sorting table, a new one for DraftKings lineups, and just the day got away from me. All of a sudden, it was 4 o'clock. I had nothing ready for the show. I tried to put things together. I even had like the pitching game logs file. Like I laid out all the pitchers, and I was just like, it's just not going to happen. We'd be talking until 7:30 if we had done that. So we missed yesterday, unfortunately. Full projections up on the site. I had the game by game, so you had all the snapshots anyway up at the site if you're a subscriber. So hopefully that went well for people. I had a big chunk of Tyler Glasnow, and that did not go well. Right back at it today, though. We've got half the games in play today, 6-gamer. There's a 6-game early slate. Hopefully those that played did well. Did not get up and rally for that one. But here for this one, this might be the ugliest slate of the year. This little 6-gamer we've got tonight. This is really bad. There are, fortunately, 2 good pitchers available. And then I like Will Warren. I like Jose Soriano. Terrible. Pretty bad. Terrible. Not going to pitch long enough. Terrible, 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 and not going to pitch long enough. This is not a big pitching slate, gang. A lot of wrinkles on this one, too. We've got a few missing players, depending on whether DraftKings decides to update their salary file and drop a couple guys in. You might be dealing with, depending on what also the Dodgers confirm in their lineup, you might have a 7-man Dodgers lineup on DraftKings today with no Shohei Ohtani in it. Because Shohei is a pitcher on DraftKings today. Shohei is a hitter on FanDuel, so this is not available. All right, hitter only on FanDuel for 47. Pitcher only at 75 on DraftKings. Wildly different across slates. 7,500. This is a 4-inning projection for Shohei Ohtani. This is a larger projection for several of these guys when it comes to innings. You can see how he competes in terms of in 4 innings. He can give you that, but there's not ceiling here where all these other guys are going to have ceiling. I mean, there's ceiling in the sense that he might go out and in 4 innings find 8 strikeouts. That could get you more points, obviously, but that is always baked in and baked into that projection that you're seeing there. And it's just more, you're trying to thread a pretty thin needle there. But this is one of the worst pitching slates you'll see. A couple interesting spots for bats, obviously, but it's going to be a fun one. This is our run board. Elastic says, yeah, played a lot of Glasnow, and that killed me. Was mini stacks did well. Jay Stringer? What are you asking? Are you asking about Jeffrey Springs? Was that what that last question is there? Jay Stringer, Jeffrey Springs? Is that what you mean? We'll get there. We'll talk them through. I mean, everybody's an option on this one. Well, sort of. Rockies and the Guardians, 8-run total, 3.5 runs on the Guardians side, the Rockies side. 4 point. By the way, my brain is at like 40% right now. I barely slept last night. Just tossing and turning was up, and has not really kicked in with the old coffee. Been pounding coffee all day. But if I stumble over my words, if I Mitch McConnell out and just stare into the camera for 30 seconds or so, just I'll come back. Monty says, yeah, the Reds picked up Ke'Bryan Hayes. Yeah, I'm honestly not familiar enough with Noe Marte in the field to really weigh in on that, just as far as how he's a fielder. But Kim Ryan Hayes is literally the best defensive third baseman in baseball. So it's an upgrade depending on how you look at it. Hayes hits the ball hard, but doesn't find success, as we've talked about a lot. Maybe the change of scenery helps, though. Appreciate it, Trav. Try saying thanks for being here for the people after a sleepless night. Yeah, especially after missing yesterday. Had to be there, but I wanted to talk this one through. For one, I love doing the show. You guys know that, I think, just with my enthusiasm, but it also just helps me get like a good handle on what's going on the slate. And like, you see me, I think, live pretty much every day, stumble across stuff and say like, oh wow, this is an interesting little pocket here. So helps me hopefully as much as it helps you. I saw you. I think you had a few lineups competing up toward the top yesterday in the Minimax on DK. No, Trev? How'd those end up coming out? I actually had some DK lineups in yesterday. Like I said, I was building out that board, so I decided to throw in some lineups over there. Not the lineup's fault, Glasnow's fault. They did not do well, but I think the sorting board worked pretty well. Well, hopefully your lineups did better over there. Anywho, Guardians coming in with a 4.62 implied total. That's a reasonable spot to look for some offense. They're going up against Kyle Freeland. It's Colby Allard on the hill for the Guardians. I gave Allard 4 innings. I don't even know that he's actually got that in the tank. He went 4 in a start earlier in the season. It's the one other time he made an actual start. Pitching in bulk relief primarily. He's got a couple 3-inning appearances in June into July, though. So I think 3 is definitely in the cards. And then the 4th inning is dicey. Probably depends on how things are going. You just don't want him anyway. He's super low strikeout, even in a relief role. There's just not a lot of appeal on Colby Allard. Interestingly, it's leading to the Guardians the Rockies rather popping some home run numbers, but they do check in at a slate low 347, 348 implied total. So depending on how you want to look at that one, maybe a sneaky good opportunity or at least a spot to consider some one-off bats on a short slate. Zach Littell is going into some danger in Yankee Stadium. The Yanks pulling a 4.83 implied total. Still no Aaron Judge on the IL. Good news is, knock on wood, he's going to be coming back like the middle of next week on the 5th. Hopefully, that's the reporting so far. Yanks still looking fairly stout, even without him. There are a lot of big bats there. The home run pick of the day comes from the Yankees. We're getting a bunch of lefties in the lineup, and Zach Littell has a 5+% home run rate. So a lot of power showing for the Yanks. Will Warren, kind of a wild card on this slate. I just showed the pictures at the top of the board. He was, I believe, number 3 on that board. Behind Brian Wu and Nathan Eovaldi, and he's got the best stuff out of everybody else in terms of strikeout stuff, in terms of capability of just finding a decent enough fantasy score here. It's not a pushover matchup against the Rays. They're pulling a 4.27 implied total. Warren has also given up power throughout the year. He's also been short started in some spots. Yanks fairly protective of that. Boone has no issues going to the bullpen after just 5 innings. 5 2/3 in his last one, but 3 2/3 in the start before that. He gave up 5 earned runs in that one. Did go into the 6th inning, but didn't complete the 6th inning in 2 starts prior to that. Has completed the 6th, but only 3 times all year. 7 1/3 was his deepest start of the year. That was all the way back on May 9th at this point. But he does have primo strikeout stuff, and there are some strikeouts for him to go find in that Rays lineup. High danger spot anyway you split it, but definitely bats and at least one arm out of that Rays Yankees lineup. I don't think you dabble too much with Zach Littell. You can always take a wild card shot at some swing and miss with the Yankees and the opposing pitcher, but don't love the way that it's looking for him. The Dodgers topping the board at a 5.30 implied total. They're in Cincinnati again. It's Nick Martinez on the mound for the Reds, looking like a big target for Dodgers bats. Already mentioned Ohtani. I'm expecting 4 from Ohtani today. I gave him the 4, like I said, in the initial run up there when I was just talking. He's gone. He went an inning in the first 2, 2 innings in the second 2, 3 innings in the third 2. So presumably, if the pattern holds, and it's pretty easy pattern recognition, this is like one of those SAT questions, like here's sequence of numbers. What's the next thing that should occur in the pattern? 4 innings. It probably won't be. It'll probably be his third 3-inning start in a row just for fun. They have not named a go-to bulk reliever in this one, though. So it's just Ohtani's going to go out there, probably give us 4, and then we're going to patch it together with just regular bullpen arms. So no big bulk reliever, no Kasparius. I think he's on the IL anyway. But like no Kasparius or anybody like that to really look to piggyback. Hey, Johnny Diaz hit a home run. And we celebrate because I have way too many of my teams. Dodgers bat. So yeah, Dodgers bats against Nick Martinez in a big way. And then you got to figure Ohtani to shut down the Reds pretty effectively over those 4 innings. And then it comes down to a matter of what can the Reds do in half of a game. They are still pulling a 4.31 implied total against those. So there's some playability there for sure. The Marlins, they kind of look interesting to me. They're checking in at a sub 4 implied total, which obviously isn't great. They've got Cal Quantrill on the hill for them going up against the Cardinals, and they're facing Miles Michaelis, a very, very gettable, low strikeout, high contact pitcher, and that's been a frisky Marlins lineup. On a slate like today, if they're going to go a little bit under the radar, they're affordable. They've got upside. They should at least be able to make a ton of contact today, and then it comes down to where those balls hit, what happens after the contact. But there is a lot of contact on board, and they fit together nicely with a lot of different teams, given the way that team's set up. Cards I like actually a little bit less, despite their 4.62 implied total. Obviously, take a look at the stacks board up on rotoscouts.com and find out where everything snaps together, exactly where they're ranked. A lot of teams fairly close as far as some of these Vegas totals go, and then some of the stack averages. Cards always in play. Typically getting them wrong. They're facing Cal Quantrill, another very fairly low strikeout, very gettable pitcher. There's plenty of upside for the Cards. It's going to be the usual setup of bats for them. The Rangers and the Angels. We've got Nathan Eovaldi, one good pitcher finally on this slate, going up against the high strikeout, but also very powerful Angels lineup. A lot of home run power there, but I do like the spot for Eovaldi. He's been mostly fantastic all season. Did deal with that blip with injuries. And then came back and went 5 innings of 7 strikeout, 4 walk ball, gave up 3 hits in that one, faced 21 hitters. So presumably that was a 6th inning that just didn't get there on pitch count. But I think we're fine for 6, even 6+ out of Eovaldi if all goes well. And then Jose Soriano has definitely given us some interesting starts this year. He's got better strikeout stuff, to full stop, really, than what he's put up in strikeout totals throughout the season. But he spiked a couple big strikeout games, several in like the middle of the board that are effective enough DFS starts. And he's typically good at limiting power. He has given up 3 home runs in 13 innings over the last 2 starts, 5 strikeouts in each game. It only amounted to 2 earned runs in each game, though. So non-problematic. And that was against Philly at Philly and against Seattle. A couple bumpy starts along the way as well. When he's bad, he's bad. But on a slate like this, Jose Soriano is going to rank out pretty well. And then we round things out with Brian Wu just pitching in that minor league ballpark. Obviously, he's going to give us fits, but he projects out toward the top of the board. He's given us a quality start in, I ranked it out last time. I think it was like 3 of his 19 starts. So he had a quality start last time out, went 6, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. He's expensive. He is very, very good and fairly likely to shut down that Athletics team, good as they are. And then Jeffrey Springs coming back the other way, pushing a 5.18 implied total toward the Mariners, showing a lot of offense for them. Springs has been okay in spots, only 2 earned runs over 6 against Houston at Houston the last time out, 5 strikeouts, give up a homer. 5 earned runs in 4 innings at Cleveland, 3 earned runs over 6 2/3 at Toronto. A couple 5-6 run games throughout the year. It's been okay. Again, for a slate like this, he's usable. Pitching to a 4.13 ERA, but a 4.61 xFIP. Not a lot of strikeout on board. It's just a matter of this slate being short more than he's appealing. That 5+ total is scary. This ballpark is scary. That's a very good Mariners team on the other side. A lot working against Jeffrey Springs and any quality. As if all this craziness we've already talked about isn't enough, we've got weather in the New York area. A little earlier, Roth had Tampa Bay, New York as yellow. So something to watch. Seems like isolated thunderstorms rolling around the area. Probably a situation where it would be like a delay late start or maybe like an in-game delay for 20, 30 minutes and then passing and then we're fine. But something to keep an eye on. The more dangerous spot seems like that Miami-St. Louis game. Roth is saying flat out orange, PBD possible, look out. So keep an eye on that one. If we lose that game, that's 2 interesting teams off the board as far as bats go, and at least 1 interesting pitcher off the board. So, yeah, not great. Wu and Evaldi, easily the top of the board. You can see it in the salaries. You can see it in the projections. You can see it in just the name brands. They're facing, Wu's facing Oakland in that ballpark. Evaldi, probably the softer matchup, comes in at slightly higher price on both sites for a negligibly lower projection, a half a point lower on the FanDuel slate, even less, a tenth of a point basically on the DraftKings slate. Love either option. They're both going to be crazy popular on both sites. They're unavoidable today, though. I mean, as much as we got Glasnow yesterday and the slate had Glasnow yesterday, this is even more concentrated ownership on these two guys. Definitely think we're getting there with Will Warren at 8,000 at 7,800. Easily projects as the next highest guy on the strikeout stuff. Let me run that down real quick. Focus right here and right there as I go through these. So 16.5 and 13.1% strikeout rates in the first game. We get Zach Littell at 16.5 and then Will Warren standing there at 26.7. We get Shohei, but he's not going to be here long enough, really. 27 and change. That's a great strikeout rate. But Nick Martinez on the other side, 17.2. In this one, Cal Quantrill's at 19%. Miles Michaelis is at 16%. Neither guy pitching to any kind of good high quality there either. Evaldi, 27 and change. Soriano on the other side, as decent as he can be, like I said, doesn't find the strikeout stuff as much as he ought to with an 11.5% swinging strike rate and just some of the pitches he's got, but he's only at 20%. And then we get Wu in this one at 24.3, but Springs at just 18.9. So just on the virtue of that strikeout rate alone, Will Warren very much on the table. Soriano, it's more about keeping runs off the board, hopefully finding some strikeouts along the way, hopefully keeping that underwhelming all year long Rangers lineup in check, but they've been a little bit more frisky over the last, I want to say, 3 weeks to a month. So there's a lot of quality there. It's a high danger spot for sure for an unreliable pitcher already. Littell coming in 5th on this board speaks for itself. The Yankees have like 4 guys in the lineup above the magic number. He's pitching to a 5+ in home run rate. It's just a little bit of strikeout upside that the Yankees are pushing in his direction, and it's not like he's at a high projection. He's actually under projected to Miles Michaelis on the FanDuel slate. Michaelis, I do think, is in play. As much as I like those Marlins bats, if this game goes at all, I do think some Michaelis against a lower end team is in play at 66, and especially at 65 on DraftKings. He can give you 6 innings. He can give you 7 innings of at least reasonable quality for this kind of an ugly, ugly slate. Not available? I don't think you throw the $7,500 Shohei dart. I mean, maybe. Given how this slate is, I guess he's not that different from most of these guys. You got more upside there and there for sure. I think you're probably similar upside, honestly. He's slightly under projected to them, and I do think the ceiling is around here. But if he does have that game where he goes out and, all right, I pitched 4 innings, but I struck out 8 hitters, then maybe we're getting a little bit more juice even than is available with those guys. What's he owned at? If he's at all popular, it's really difficult to justify. He's not popular, but he's also not unowned. Upper single digit ownership projection. He's projected for more ownership than Springs, Allard, Martinez, and Quantrill. So those guys, but less it looks like than Freeland, or the same basically as Freeland. Freeland is also grudgingly on the board. 7,300 on FanDuel. Mix and match quality pitcher at best. 6,000 on DraftKings. It's just about that price. The Guardians can be good, but they're also one of the more gettable teams on this board. And then these are just pretty firm nose. Difficult, ugly pitching slate. Should be fun, though. I think this is a great opportunity to embrace the chaos. Ride with some of these ugly pitchers. See where we can get to. Yanks lineup is in. Hit the like button out there as we get into the game-by-game part of the show. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. The site is rotoscouts.com. Everything over there is under $1 a day. If it hits that website, it is yours for that same less than $1. Baseball right now gets you the projections, gets you the home run model, individual home run pick from each team, overall home run pick, plus you just get the home run model number for every single player, so you can make your own picks based on those numbers, throw them into your process. Top stacks, power index, the new game-by-game snapshots where you just get this board as a screenshot for the projected lineups when the projections go up, whatever's confirmed by them. And NFL right around the corner. NBA, NHL not too long after that. All in, one price, no per sport nonsense. So check that out. But yeah, like and subscribe here on YouTube as well if you get a chance, especially if you're new. The Rockies. So again, a little bit of power showing here for the Rocks. It's around some of the obvious guys. That Orlando Arcia number is weird. Hold on. He's got to have some of these back end guys. When I did the back end projections updates, he's got to have like no plate appearances assigned. We'll just double his plate appearances and it'll be fine. No, he does have plate appearances assigned. That's weird. Why would he be pulling that kind of a number? That doesn't make any sense. Glad we saw this. Because he's got 13 home runs projected on here for some reason. Same number as Jock Peterson. That's weird. That's the tweak I made a job. Maybe I accidentally copied that down. Yeah, that fixed it. Let me see what his actual steamer projection is. Bear with me one second. Sorry about that. Like I said, better that we catch it now and I can fix it up on the site. Hey, give him one more. All right. Looks like universally 4 is the number there. All right, so that comes down a little bit for Orlando Arcia there. That'll get caught up in the next update. Actually, you know what? Let me just do it now real quick so that I don't forget since that one's already confirmed. Knew that looked funky. I'm pretty sure I just accidentally copied down when I was fixing Jock Peterson the other day. All right. That is number 3. All right. Better. All right. So the Rockies are still, despite that change, showing a little bit of power upside here. Jordan Beck at 8.74. You've got Ezequiel Tovar at 8.49 in the model. Hunter Goodman, always been standing tall at a big number all season long. He's got 19 home runs this year, a 237 ISO, 12.5% barrels, a 50+% hard hit. Hunter Goodman's just good, to put it no other way around it. 4,500 on DraftKings works. 3,200, their most expensive bat on both sites, but easy enough to reach, especially if you're stacking this team with everybody around him being really, really cheap. It's an interesting enough squad to throw at Colby Allard. Again, Allard comes in with a 13% strikeout rate, mostly in relief work, 41 1/3. Just one start. That was a 4-inning appearance, maxed out at 3 innings in any of these relief stints. 2.83 ERA, but nearly a 5 on the xFIP number. No swinging strikes. Just looks like a guy they're going to be able to tee off against. So I think at worst, we're looking at a Rockies squad that's going to come in with available contact. And you guys know how I feel about available contact, especially when a lot of these guys make like ultra premium contact when they happen to connect. Their biggest issues are strikeouts. Their biggest issues are the infrequency of contact. If we start throwing the more available contact, this team can find its way. So they're definitely not uninteresting. They're definitely interesting today. I guess I stumble into triple negatives when I am tired. On the other side, the Guardians at a 4.62 implied total going up against Freeland. As interesting, more interesting, I would say that Freeland definitely has a little bit more in terms of the pitching appeal. 6,000. It's not like he projects well. 7,300 on the FanDuel slate. He's thrown 101 and a third innings in 19 starts, 16.5% strikeout rate. At least he doesn't walk too many. 5.8% walk. He's got a 5.24 ERA, but interestingly, a 4.10 xFIP. That's not a terrible number. The barrels, the hard hits are a little bit less reasonable, a little bit higher than we would want them. Managing on home runs, 3.12. That's via some launch angle control there. That's not an egregiously bad launch angle, which impacts the barrels, but that's a lot of barrels. It's more hard hits and a ton of exit velo. So very, very gettable pitcher. But at those prices, I think maybe we could throw him into some Guardians. They're coming in with a 22.7% strikeout rate overall. They do have some interesting righty bats who have a history of hitting lefties fairly hard. They've got a superstar in the heart of the lineup in Jose Ramirez. Steven Kwan is still a member of this team, at least for now. Supposedly the gambling allegations in the pitching staff are going to have an impact on what they do at the deadline, and Kwan's name's tied up in that. But as long as he's here at the top of the Guardians lineup, he can definitely get into some stacks. He is a low strikeout, high walk, on base correlated scoring option for 45.28. Easy way to start this lineup off. Him and Jose Ramirez go into most of your Guardian stacks, and then you're working down the lineup from there. But between all four of these things, I don't know, actually. I was going to say I think the Guardians are there, but I don't know if that's actually true. I think the Rockies are maybe interesting. And they're going to be lower owned, and they're so affordable. Them and the Marlins. Am I here to sell you guys the Rockies and the Marlins today? Man, that's not really what I want to do. That's not how you win new subscribers, make friends. Top of the Rockies lineup at 4,600. Tyler Freeman at 310, 389, 411. It's been a monster 229 plate appearances. Guy's just been out there. Hit tool coming through. Low strikeout, high walk. Looking a lot like Steven Kwan on the other side of this game, quite honestly. Outperforming Steven Kwan in half the plate appearances. 115 WRC+. It's an easy way to get started. Fits at second base on FanDuel, too. Tovar has power. That's a very reasonable shortstop bat for only 32 on DraftKings, 28 on FanDuel. If you're considering the Rockies, don't leave him out. Great spot in the lineup. Correlates in both directions. Solid barrel and hard hit rates over the last couple of seasons, including this year. 6 home runs and 173 plate appearances, but a solid 181 ISO. Not spectacular, but solid. And a 372 xWOBA is definitely worth some eyeballs. So love the upside there. The swing and miss that's in his game can be problematic, but he's cut strikeout in this sample of plate appearances down 6 and almost 7 points. So really interesting. I talked about Goodman. Beck at 37, 28, 12 home runs, 11 stolen bases. Another player who's been downright interesting for this team. The premium contact comes and goes, but still holding down an 11.3% barrel. Needs to push the hard hit up a little bit. But a 108 WRC plus definitely works. Warming Bernabel, 2,500, 2,400. Solid 16 plate appearances so far with a pair of home runs, a 533 ISO. Monster. Love it. Very, very cheap way to fill first base on DraftKings, third base on FanDuel. And again, we're just looking for this cheap available contact. Thairo Estrada, Orlando Arcia, Austin Nola. All three of those guys less interesting in my mind than Brenton Doyle. Doyle connects with the ball aggressively, 11.3% barrels, 44.8% hard hits. He's hit 7 home runs, stolen 10 bases. He's quite a bit better than all of his statistics this year. You could just go there pretty easily for 25 on FanDuel in the outfield. Thairo Estrada is playable. He's had an okay 141 chances. 267, 298, 389. There's been more quality there in years past. Nothing to see in terms of the xWOBA. The WRC plus is atrocious. So there's a reason he's cheap. He's not all that appealing, but he's playable. But Brenton Doyle's the way to focus there, down toward the bottom of the lineup there. On the Guardian side, outside of Kwan and Jose Ramirez, you get David Fry here. He's got a solid 8% barrel, 40% hard hit, but strikes out an absolute ton. That's less of a problem against Kyle Freeland. But if we're looking for somebody that Freeland might be able to punch out once or twice, David Fry's a prime candidate. He's got 4 home runs in just 91 plate appearances, sees some success against left-handed pitching. Very cheap, easy to reach a catcher on DraftKings, which is crucial. Austin Hedges is in the lineup all the way down there at 2,100, a second playable catcher. He's got 3 home runs and 115 plate appearances, no real contact, no real positive attributes to speak of, but has hit those 3 cheap home runs that nobody's going to roster. And, nobody did roster those days. No guarantee that he hits one today. I don't think he makes contact with anything today. Carlos Santana at 34-29. 11 home runs. I feel like he had those 11 home runs about a month and a half ago. Pretty weak season so far. 226, 323, 41. Still a little time to right the ship, at least make it look more respectably like him. Maybe he can get to 20 home runs still if he has a big August and September, but we're really nearing the end of the line. Fortunately, prices come down commensurate with the performance, so I think you can get there pretty easily. Gabriel Arias hits the ball very hard. Has a history of doing so, also strikes out quite a bit, 31.1. Again, less important against a guy like Freeland. There's upside there. He's got 7 home runs and 296 chances, but pretty weak in terms of the WRC+. Look how bad this team is as far as run creation goes. That's an average, including the 114 and the 140 from Quan and Ramirez. That's still an 83 average, 17 points below your league average. Rocchio, Hedges, really uninteresting down there, but Nolan Jones is interesting in the way that Brenton Doyle's interesting over on the other side. Nolan Jones used to be in that role and went 2020 in 400 some odd plate appearances a couple years ago. Still carrying an 8.1% barrel, 48.4% hard hit this season. Not seeing a lot of success for it. It is invisible on this side of the line outside of that 335 xwOBA under the covers that justifies a little bit of faith that maybe at some point we see at least a little production. Very, very cheap way to fill the outfield. These guys at best mix and match shares here and there. I will respect the Vegas total and I'll say Guardians, but the Rockies are right behind them and I think much more on the board than maybe they're getting credit for. And between the two pitchers, I would say Freeland, and you're probably not getting more than 4 innings out of Allard, and they're not going to be 4 good innings anyway, so you probably don't go there at 7,000 on DK. Can't skip that second game. The Rays come in? Nope. Mets get Tyler Rogers. Giants get Jose Buto, Blade Tidwell, and Drew Gilbert. Tidwell's a prospect. Oh, both Tyler and Taylor Rogers were traded today. How about that? Camilo Doval's made available by the Giants. So no Rays lineup yet. Some big lefty bats in this one. Brendan Lau in the projected lineup, 8.80 in the home run model. Obviously a big pickup if his power is available to the Rays today. Definitely would be a downer for Will Warren shares. He's given up a 9% barrel, 44.4% hard hits, 90.6 miles an hour of exit velo. Some concerning premium contact. The kid's just good, though. I mean, this is his first full year pitching in the show. So I think we respect a little bit of the, maybe not the 4.82 ERA, but certainly the 3.57 xFIP underneath. The 26.7% strikeouts, a solid 29.3% CSW to go with the 10% swinging strike rate. He's walked a few too many, definitely too many guys on base, too many opportunities, and that's where the power can really burn him for an additional couple of runs. But he is good. And on this slate where we are just absent options outside of the obvious at the top of the board, 8,000 against this Rays team definitely works for me. Yes, this is a low average overall, but if you look through the heart of the lineup there, that collection of 4 hitters is at a 23.2% strikeout rate. You've got a couple of 20s down here, including the 24 on Matt Dace. If this is the lineup they go with, there are strikeouts available for Will Warren here. There's just, again, a lot of power showing in guys like Brendan Lau, in guys like Josh Lowe a few spots later in the mid-board type range. Same with Jonathan Aranda. In between those guys, Junior Caminero lurking large in the 8s, the upper 8s. So I think you can get some Rays. Their 4.27 implied total tells that as well. Littell's the problem here. 3.72 ERA, sure, that's fine. A 4.21 xFIP even is kind of good. 16.5% strikeouts against 3.3% walks. It's okay as a ratio, but that strikeout rate needs to be way higher. There's just a lot of contact available here. Not missing bats all that effectively. 9.1% swinging strike rate's kind of underwhelming at 24.2% CSW. And just look at all the contact Over the line in all three of the major marks, 5+% home run rate. Seems really targetable, even with the Yankees without Aaron Judge, who would be at like a 19 today. You've got four guys in the 11s in the home run model. You've got another one with Cody coming in at an 8.82. Down here, even Ryan McMahon at 7.17. A lot of interesting bats on the Yankees, and maybe they go a little underappreciated. It looked like they were kind of mid-board type ownership projections. So maybe a little underappreciated and a little easier to reach since you're not putting the big Judge salary in there. So there's a little something to go there. If you're looking at Rays against Warren, Chandler Simpson, if he's in the lineup, is a good way to start things off. Solid correlated scoring piece, 336 on base so far. Just a 91 WRC plus is interesting given his skill set. It's really just about that hit tool, reaching first base, stealing a base, and then coming around with some help from his friends. Thanks, Rabbit Hole. Beyond the Rabbit Hole says, congrats on the 1K subs. Monty saying on this slate, how many strikeouts would you need from Littell? I want 5 strikeouts from anybody that I'm going to be playing. At 76, the way that this slate's going to fall, though, could you get away with like 3? Probably. If he just goes out, doesn't find strikeouts along the way, but manages to give you like 6 okay innings here, even if he gives up a home run, but let's say it's a two-run shot, Yanks fall short like they tend to do a lot of the time, then yeah, a light strikeout game, since you've got so many guys on this slate that are in just like the mid-teens for strikeouts anyway, I think you're fine. I wouldn't worry about the difference between 3 and 5 strikeouts for any of these guys that are in the teens. It's more about what can the top-end guys find. So Simpson's a good starting point. 3,000 is a lot more reasonable on FanDuel, though. 45 on DraftKings is kind of aggressive, especially given how he scores his fantasy points. There's a lot of swing with just happenstance in there. So I don't love paying that price. 3,000 is more reasonable. Jonathan Diaz, 46.32, definitely a good option. 18 home runs on the season, 184 ISO, 123 WRC plus. Tremendous way to fill first or third on DraftKings. First base on FanDuel works. If Lau is in the lineup, he is your top priority in this lineup. 8.80 in the home run model. Monster left-handed power to throw into Yankee Stadium against a kid giving up some power. Love the upside there if he's in the lineup. 19 home runs, a 211 ISO on the season. Aranda hits the ball very hard. 12.6% barrel, 50+% hard, 54% hard hit. 12 home runs, not bad, but only a 165 ISO. Both those totals a little light given that kind of contact, but he's put up a tremendous line overall, 315, 396, 480. Keep doing what you're doing. He's easy to reach at 41, 29 on FanDuel. The positional conflict is not that relevant because you got first and third over there, and you can play them both over here. Junior Caminero hits the ball extremely hard as well. He's got 27 home runs, breakout season, 251 ISO on the year. As I said in Discord the other day, just imagine if Wander didn't go to the minors. Imagine what this team would be this year. Josh Lowe at 42-27, 6 home runs, 7 steals. Kind of rounding some of those numbers into form a little bit as that sample grows. Still a 335 xWOB under the covers, a 42.7% hard hit. He's reasonable at 27 on FanDuel, a little bit more expensive at 42 on DraftKings, but even that is not bad. Mangum continues to be a quad A player. By the way, we're down to 290 now on that average that was standing out for a while. 290, 331, 367, and plummeting. 0.078 ISO, a 96 WRC plus, 293 xWOB. See? You just have to wait for samples to normalize, and then you are who your numbers say you are. Taylor Walls, Matt Face down the bottom of the lineup, mix and match. Taylor Walls can steal you a base from time to time, but he's getting on at a 285 clip to Mangum's 331 for the season. So do with that what you will. Yanks, I almost made Trent Grisham the home run pick of the day. I came real close, and then I saw how highly he was going to be owned and how much lower the actual home run pick of the day was going to be owned. I also didn't make him the home run pick of the Yankees because I had already penciled Ben Rice in for that, and I didn't want to change him. He's at an 11.72 to Grisham's 11.55. Both of those lefty bats, definite upside, 4,100 apiece, 28 and 31 on FanDuel. Both guys very much in play. Excuse me. Cody Bellinger at 54.35, monster upside for him as well. He's hit 20 home runs this year, 232 ISO. Solid slash line of 133 WRC plus. He's just been tremendous. Hitting the ball harder, finding barrels this year, not striking out, drawing his walks. Excellent player. Playing the hell out of outfield, too. Giancarlo Stanton, speaking of maybe playing the outfield, it's going to be scary. 4,300, 3,200. He's got 7 home runs, a solid slash line, and 114 chances, 235 ISO. That swing is intact. The premium contact is there. No reason not to play Stanton at still cheap prices. Both sides still a little bit light, especially on a day where we don't have to pay for Judge. Jazzy Chisholm at 5,236, 18 home runs, 10 steals, monster category filler. Big time premium contact from the left side seems worthwhile against a righty who gives up nothing but premium contact. Neither of those guys were the home run pick of the day either. Jason Dominguez at 37-31, also not the home run pick. Kid's good though. 262, 334, 411 over 341 plate appearances. A solid 49.5% hard hit rate. Drawing his walks. The barrels need to come back up a little bit. Needs to find that power stroke in the long term, but this is a good first full season in the show. Nothing to dislike about what he's doing. 109 WRC plus stands on its own. Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, out of the 12 teams available on this one, 2 of the better 8-9 hitters that you're going to find. I like Wells quite a bit better than I like Volpe, but both guys have 15 home runs. Volpe's added 12 stolen bases. Wells, he's even stolen 5 on his own. High-end catcher as far as power upside on a short slate. Same deal at shortstop. Volpe can definitely drive the ball. 193 ISO, 10.5% barrels, 43.9% hard hits, 10.1 and 47.9 for Austin Wells. Both those guys, very interesting way to fill out a Yankees lineup, give you a little bit more than the average guy down toward the bottom from time to time. Neither guy is at all reliable. They're very similar numbers in a lot of these spots. 23.8% strikeouts exactly from both guys. Speaking of not at all reliable, Ryan McMahon flashing some leather at third base to get his Yankee career started. He's found some base hits, found a little pop. Comes in with some lefty thunder for sure. 12.6% barrel, 49.8% hard hit on the season, 16 home runs. Just a 182 ISO, needs to direct that premium contact better, but very capable of finding it. He's very high strikeout, but against Zach Littell, it's not going to matter as much. Littell might limit his also very high walk rate capabilities, so that leaves us with contact. And if I can get primo lefty contact in Yankee Stadium for 39, for 29, from a guy that people are underappreciating even in places where they're stacking Yankees, Ryan McMahon as the home run pick of the day at 7.17, a little bit light maybe for the pick of the day in terms of the double-digit magic number, but I love that spot. Potentially sneaky down in the 7 spot too. He was picking up mid-single digits ownership the last I checked. Just because this pitching slate is so short, Will Warren, but the Yankees right up there with the best stacks of the day. So Will Warren, Yankees bats, Rays bats, and I would probably hedge if I got over the top with Will Warren shares. I'd make sure that I had some Rays in some other lineups, and then really don't think Zach Littell's got a ton to give us here, but the slate is incredibly short. So throwing Zach Littell at 76 into a high danger spot against the Yanks, hoping and praying that you get those 3 to 5 strikeouts, you get 6 okay innings because he's not walking guys and he's just coming through. Most of the Yankees hits are atom balls and you get out of it. Maybe you can get there at 76. It's very dicey. There are not many guys I'm even completely think are reliable to finish 5 innings today. That's how bad this pitching slate is. Moving on. Speaking of bad pitching, Nick Martinez on the mound, 6,800, 7,600 across sites, pitching to a 4.69 ERA, a 4.41 xFIP. Another guy who doesn't really walk too many, but there are plenty of guys on base, plenty of opportunities against it. That 1.22 whip. This ballpark doesn't help any pitching, 17.2% strikeouts. It's not a high-end pitcher. You can see he's gotten by with not bad barrels, hard hits, exit velo, all entirely manageable. You could argue that he's inducing weak and medium contact in some spots, but an extreme fly ball trajectory to these power hitters in this ballpark, it's going to make a difference somewhere along the way. You can see, though, that his numbers are impacting some of the guys in this model. It's not like Teoscar's mashing his way to 15 or anything here. It's half that, 7.75. Freddie at 5 and change, Will Smith in the 6s, Mookie same thing. The only guy who's mashing really in the board is Joey Ohtani, which is entirely reasonable. You get him over here, you do not get him over there where he's a pitcher. This is that version I was worried about of this lineup. if Alex Freeland got added on DraftKings, that helps. But if he's out and you don't have Ohtani, they got a 7-man DraftKings Dodger lineup because Freeland's not there. Somebody let me know if they, I guess I can check real quick. Baseball 6-gamer. 6:40 start, by the way. Little under 2 hours to go till lock. Halfway through this. Yeah, the only Freeland DraftKings has today is Kyle Freeland. So you got a 7-man DraftKings Dodgers team. You do still get Mookie at 4,300. That's a pretty good purchase from where I'm sitting. I know he's had a bad year. 243, 316, 373, just a 131 ISO. That is not Mookie Betts. But we also know what that ceiling looks like. He's cheap on DK. 34 on FanDuel. They're holding a little stronger, I feel like, than DraftKings, but they also give you that multi-position, second, short, and outfield, which is a big asset when you're moving parts around with the Dodgers. On FanDuel, you do get the $4,700 Shohei Ohtani spot. Feels a little bit cheap for Ohtani. FanDuel price. It's expensive. It's a good price. $4,700. That works, though. 38 home runs, 13 stolen bases. Will Smith at 5,000 on DraftKings is entirely within reach on a day where you don't get Ohtani and everybody else is affordable. So it does put Will Smith maybe more in play. Monster season out of him, 325, 423, 543. He's just been great this year. 218 ISO, 170 WRC plus. Excellent way to fill the catcher spot. It's got to be the best just standalone catcher on the slate, right? Freddie at 45.33. Easy option to click on. 10 home runs, a 131 WRC plus, a 345 xWOB under the covers. Another tremendous season as far as the slash line goes. He's scoring his runs and driving them in. You can argue with the power output, but I'm not gonna. 10 home runs, 165 ISO. Still makes great contact. Still capable of driving one over the wall when you need it, and just an excellent hitter in general. Teoscar for 44.35 is reasonable on DraftKings. FanDuel is a little bit maybe more expensive, but those are not terrible prices for a guy with an 11.7% barrel, 45.7% hard hit, 16 homers, 205 ISO. The history of power hitting that he's got, love that option. Andy Pajas for 42, 3,000, 19 homers out of him. A solid season. Feel like it's been a minute with Andy. He's been affordable all season long. They really didn't aggressively move his price. He's kind of our this year's Mark Vientos. Yeah, last month, for the month of July, just 247, 301, 388, a 93 WRC plus, a 141 ISO, 3 home runs, handful of runs and ribbies, again, non-predictive stuff. 141 ISO, a 26.9% strikeout rate. There was going to be some normalization at some point. That's the month of July. I don't know if it extends further into June, but overall, this is a very strong season from a young player. Love the upside, and if people are going away from him, definitely more reason to put him into your stacks. Michael Conforto, kind of the same thing. Let people go away from him because of all those terrible, terrible numbers, over 336 chances. I will continue to focus on that little combination there. They're slipping somewhat, by comparison to where they were and where you would want them. Some of these guys up here, but there's still a lot of quality there. Still draws his walks as well, so he can find his way to first base, get involved. Miguel Rojas at 26 on both sites. Solid season at 250, 316, 417, a 106 WRC plus, over 172 chances. That's fine for a mix and match guy. No problem there. And then Alex Freeland at the dead min on FanDuel gives you another shortstop option. Kid is about to turn 24. In 453 plate appearances in AAA this year, 12 home runs, 17 stolen bases, 253, 377, 421 with a 108 WRC plus. Last year in 615 plate appearances from high A through AAA as a 22-year-old, which is pretty quickly rocketing up the ladder. 18 home runs, 31 steals, scored 100 runs, drove in 74. Again, those don't matter, but they're worth mentioning with that 100-run total. 263, 87, 442. He's on base all the time. Creator runs 35% better than average by WRC+. This is an interesting player at the dead min if you're going to the Dodgers. Taking him on FanDuel, again, you don't have it over there. That sucks. But taking him and then going like 1, 2 there and pick your poison between any of these guys. I'll take a slightly cheaper Freddie. Brings me down to 3,350, so 3,400 a man for my 4-man. That does include Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman. If you wanted to skip Mookie and just go there, it's the exact same price, and you get Will Smith into it. You're using the util spot. A lot of things you can do there. You can also throw Miguel Rojas into that mix, even if you wanted to like 2-man that, or go from here down, or 1, 2, and then back up to the top. A lot of ways to work it over there. 7 guys here broken up like that is not overly pretty. But you're definitely going to want to use Dodgers. They probably play best on DraftKings as like a 3-man through the middle, or 4-man obviously also works, just like right through there. Obviously, you can include Mookie in that. You would. But that's probably the approach. I would maybe, there is an argument to be made that if other people are lessening their approach to the Dodgers because of that shortened lineup, then maybe you do look to full stack it a little bit even more. Depends on how you want to approach something like that. On the red side, Gavin Lux at 3,000, 2,500. Okay season. Getting on base very effectively. Good in the leadoff role when he's up there. 105 WRC plus. Nothing crazy there. Nothing great in the power department. The xWOBA is underwhelming, so there's not a lot hiding anywhere, but he's been effective enough. Hits ahead of Matt McClain at 3,800, 2,900. He's got 11 home runs, 15 stolen bases. An effective enough creator of DFS scoring, if nothing else. So I do think you can roster a little bit of Gavin Lux rolling into McClain. Obviously, we want some Ellie. 6,000, 4,000 across sites. Can't get enough Ellie into your red stacks. He is the most critical piece that they've got. 18 home runs, 29 steals, a 202 ISO, a 129 WRC plus. Austin Hayes is having a very good 240 plate appearances. 217 ISO, 125 WRC plus. He's hit 10 homers, solid 12% barrel rate, but 39.3% hard hits. It's not like these, got uncharacteristic numbers outside of a few good batted ball events with those barrels in a half a season's worth of plate appearances. Not taking it away from him, and we're not really paying much tax. We're paying a little, but we're not paying much tax in a cheap lineup on a short day for what Austin Hayes has already done versus what he's likely to do. So I think you're perfectly fine going there. 5.81 in the home run model kind of speaks for itself. Noelvi Marte at 4,000, 3,100 came up earlier in the show because his team traded for Brian Hayes, who is not in their lineup today. But we'll see what happens with Marte as far as regular plate appearances. He's hit 7 home runs and stolen 6 bases in just 146 plate appearances this year. He has been effective. Interesting spot, 224 ISO, 125 WRC plus. Get him while he's here. 4,000 on DraftKings, 31 on FanDuel. Definitely works. Stevenson for 33, 29, 8 home runs. Always capable of putting great bat on ball for a cheap catcher. That's not bad at all. Just that lone attribute, which is good because he strikes out 36% of the time. He does draw walks. He's a 3 true outcomey kind of a player, even though he has a just 310 on base this year. There is upside there. Definitely can get interested in some Tyler Stevenson in my red stacks. All of this is with the idea that Shohei Ohtani's on the mound, at least for 4 innings today. So it does create a situation where you're looking at like a half a game of quality from the Reds and very likely low scoring in those first 4 innings. Spencer Steer and Santiago Espinal, a couple of mixers who can create some fantasy points. Espinal, decent average, but underwhelming in every other facet of the game so far, not even really stealing bases. It's pretty weak at first and third base. At second base or in the outfield, it's okay for 2,200. First and third is really, really rough for Santiago Espinal on the DraftKings slate. The guy we like down bottom, Spencer Steer, can hit home runs from time to time. He's got 11 on the season, but Will Benson's the interesting one down there. 14.9% barrels, 57% hard hits, tons and tons of strikeouts. Not much in terms of average on base, anything like that. But 8 home runs and 189 plate appearances, a 186 ISO, 368 xWOBA. That is an interesting bat down lineup in Will Benson. Ohtani at 75 is going to be your wild card on DraftKings. Again, you don't roster that obviously because he's in the outfield. But over here, You're looking at 4 innings. If they gave him more than 4 innings, I would be absolutely floored. That is your 4-inning projection. I do think there's a slight amount of ceiling on top of that. Call it that number to 15 DraftKings points, and then I think you're cut off. So he's better than Nick Martinez. Martinez facing the Dodgers looks pretty ugly. I'm going to call this Dodgers bats. Really, it's Dodgers bats, Reds bats, and you don't want either pitcher, but it's probably Dodgers bats, a dart at that DraftKings Ohtani price, Reds bats, and then Nick Martinez. Among the terrible pitchers, Martinez has a little bit of talent, but he's here because he's facing the Dodgers. It's the worst slate of all time. 3 games to go. Mention liking these Marlins. Let's see if we got a confirmed lineup in. Marlins is in. Cardinals is also in. We do have that Troy Johnson guy to deal with. Johnston. As of last check, Mr. Johnston here, despite he was available yesterday, made 2 plate appearances, doesn't look like he got in on either site so far today. FanDuel's really been on the game all season long with adding guys quickly. Doesn't look like they got to that one. So just keep an eye on that spot. I did put him into the model so that he's got a projection showing here. So worst case scenario, you can just grab it and use that. But he will be in the lineup today and currently not on either site. That doesn't really take away from my upside expectations from this Marlins lineup, though. Just under a 4 implied total, but they've been frisky. They've been good for DFS quality. They've got one really legitimate player in the heart of the lineup having a tremendous breakout year in Kyle Stowers. Agustin Ramirez is looking like a very much a major league player in his first year. Jesus Sanchez is somebody we've always liked on this show. So there's some quality in the Marlins. My hope is they get a little bit sneaky. They're very affordable, easy to build with, especially on FanDuel with all the multi-position guys. There's a lot to work with. Miles Michaelis comes in with a 16.1% strikeout rate. Another guy doesn't come with any walks. As a ratio, that's tidy. It's not good, but it's tidy. But just 7.2% swinging, 26.2% CSW. He's got a 4.94 ERA, a 4.69 xFIP, nearly a 4% home run rate. We're way over the mark for barrels. He's a fly ball trajectory pitcher, way over the mark on hard hits. He is managing exit velo, luckily for him. But if he wasn't, we'd be way over 4% home runs. Stuff plus hates the arsenal. It's just a matter of, can you get away with Miles Michaelis eating 6 innings against this team, giving up 3 runs, finding 3 to 5 strikeouts, and just managing to get by and outpitch guys like Zach Littell, guys like Nick Ramirez, guys like Cal Quantrill on the other side of this game. You're just looking at a collision of all these terrible pitchers, and who happens to find one more strikeout, who happens to get one additional out that other guys didn't get. Because probably everybody here is giving up some runs. Everybody here is going to be giving up some hits. So Michaelis, when you consider the downside of the Marlins, that does give them a little bit of bump. Does put him on that list at least at 65 at 66. On the other side of that, Cal Quantrill at 63.72, under projected compared to Michaelis by a little bit. There is a difference between those two. That's with him coming in at the higher strikeout rate, over 92 2/3. He's got a 19% against a decent 6.2% walk. That's not bad, but it comes on no swinging strikes, terrible CSW overall. There's still way too many guys on base, a lot of BABIP success against him. The BABIP comes on not necessarily allowing a ton of home runs yet, but still allowing a lot of exit velo, hard hits, barrels. We're over the line in every category, fly ball trajectory. So more home runs are coming, but extra base hits are already abundant against this pitcher. Every now and then, Quantrill can break off a decent start. Last 2, he's gone 11 innings, 5 against the Brewers, faced 18 Brewers, gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run on a home run, struck out 4, walks 0, 3 strikeouts, no walks. No runs on 2 hits over 19 hitters in 6 innings against the Royals, the start before that. Start before that one was at Cincinnati and melted down, gave up 6 runs, 5 of them earned, 5 strikeouts and a walk, but capable of landing you in that 5 to 6 strikeout range. A lot of his upside downside comes around the power, though, comes around whether or not he gives up that home run. Fortunately for that argument, the Cards not the best home run hitters in the world. You've got a little stretch of power there in the middle. This is a less than threatening Cardinals team when it comes to power. Nobody at even above a 185 ISO. I do think Cal Quantrill at 63, at 72, given the slightly higher strikeout rate than all the other terrible pitchers on the board, given an equally gettable team despite that 4.63 implied total, worth rostering as much as any of the other garbage pitchers on the slate. Marlins bats, as mentioned, do like Xavier Edwards off the top for one. 4,300 at second base, 2,800 at second and shortstop on FanDuel. He's getting on base at a 360 clip. 17 stolen bases. Some of the numbers have gone up over the last month and change. 105 WRC plus on the season. An underwhelming xWOBA at 297. Doesn't hit the ball hard at all. He's just a hit tool, low strikeout, high walk, get to first base and then create havoc kind of a guy. But a lot of bonus upside, a lot of correlated scoring upside in a lineup we want to get to. And he fills positions very easily at those prices. Very, very appealing bat at the top of the Marlins and probably under-owned today. Sanchez, 11.2% barrels. Agustin Ramirez, 12.2. Kyle Stowers, 20% barrels. That is a lot of barrel from 2 through 4 in this lineup. You've got 9 home runs and 333 plate appearances from Sanchez, bringing up the bottom of that list. He is a better bat than this. I will die believing that. 21% strikeouts this year. He's cut 5% off strikeout rate over the last 2 seasons. Not nothing from a still young hitter. Pushed walk up a little bit. Slashing just 252, 318, 405 at league average for run creation. Last year he had 18. He stole 16. That was an interesting season, but you can see still underwhelming 166 ISO in spite of a very good 12.2% barrel and 50.9% hard hit. Just needs to normalize some of the results, and then this kid becomes better. Anytime I'm going to the Marlins, especially when he's hitting second between some appealing bats that I already want to get to, and he costs nothing, and nobody's going there, that makes him very appealing. Ramirez at 4,000, top-end catcher option on DK today. Monster for premium contact. 18.9% strikeouts, down to a 6% walk rate. That was higher earlier. The slash line is cratered a little bit at 238, 283, 454, but he still made plenty of premium contact, still driving the ball effectively. 216 ISO, 15 home runs on the year. Stowers checks in with 23 homers at 275 ISO. He's in everything Marlins today. Otto is more a mix and match guy for me, but he does find discounting stats. When this team goes off, he has a tendency to be in the thick of things. 34, 29, second and short on FanDuel, shortstop on DraftKings. You're just mixing and matching your way to shares of Otto around whatever you're doing with Xavier Edwards on either site. But he's got ability. I mean, 11 home runs, 10 steals, just a 97 WRC plus, but a solid 362 xWOBA, solid little 8.4% barrel, doesn't strike out, does draw some walks, so he's not uninteresting, especially when you don't get the next guy. And then Heriberto Hernandez, solid barrel and hard hit out of him, over 110 chances, slashing 320, 373, 520, 5 home runs. He's been part of what's made this team interesting over the last month and change. So Heriberto is definitely on the list at very affordable prices on both sites. He's got a 147 WRC plus, a 200 ISO. It's a limited sample so far of 110 plate appearances, but it is definitely significant enough to gain attention on a slate like this. Graham Pauley, we've talked about a little bit. High-end prospect, hasn't really found his footing in the show, but throughout the minors, the kid can hit. 2,100 at third on DraftKings, definitely can sign up for that. Same thing at 3 positions on FanDuel, like it a lot. And then Dane Myers at the bottom of the lineup, 16 stolen bases, just an 84 WRC plus, doesn't get on consistently enough, but hits the ball interestingly hard. Not terrible in terms of strikeouts and walks, so you're just mostly looking to buy a little late lineup lightning. He's not a go-to bat in this lineup, but he's not somebody you necessarily need to skip for any reason. On the card side, Brendan Donovan having a Brendan Donovan kind of a season. 285, 356, 417, a 119 WRC plus, 9 home runs. The power that he showed early on is somewhat cooled overall, but he's going to end up in the mid-teens home runs wise, and it comes on decent contact. It's him fulfilling expectations for like what the next level of Brendan Donovan could maybe look like based on what he's done in seasons past. It's been good. 4,000, 3,100, more appealing at 31 across 4 positions on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, you at least do get him at second. Ivan Ledetta at catcher, 44, 32 across sites. Very solid 227 plate appearances at him, a 148 WRC plus. Burleson with a little bit of pop in the bat, 10% barrels, 42.8% hard hits. Hitting ahead of Wilson Contreras at 14.6% barrels, 49% hard hits. That's where their power is coming from. 14 home runs apiece for those guys. Everybody else, you get Nolan Arenado with his dead swing at 10 home runs, but there's really nothing to see there. Those 10 home runs are entirely circumstantial. 84 WRC plus at 297 XWOB and no premium contact whatsoever. So your true power is right there. A little bit on Etta. And then you get to Yoel Pozo, Thomas Igisi, Victor Scott going down the lineup. Pozo's at least had a competent hit tool over 114 plate appearances. We'll see what else he's got. He hasn't been barreling the ball at all. The interesting guy in the 7 spot, Jordan Walker, 2,700, 2,500. It's been a bad 238 plate appearances. He's way more talented than that. He hits the ball very hard and has been hitting the ball very hard, and you're paying nothing. 2,700, 2,500. If you're going to Cardinals today, Jordan Walker is, to me, a priority in this lineup, even with the bad numbers so far this year. It's just one of the most interesting hitters on this team, full stop. Cards bats, Marlins bats. Cal Quantrill, I guess, is, even though the projection, I got to go with the projections. So Miles Michaelis, it's a bump from facing the Marlins, and then Cal Quantrill. But I think they're equally playable. Tis saying Verlander available on trade market does not include Time Machine. Yeah, there's a little bit of smoke around him maybe coming back to the Mets. Guess that could be interesting. He actually, what is his numbers been? He had a couple good ones recently, if I'm remembering correctly, right? Yeah, 5 innings of 1-run ball the last time out, struck out 7. 5 innings the game before that against the Braves. 1 hitter over 5, but walked 5, struck out just 3. Peaked at 9 strikeouts all the way back in April. In the more recent stretch, has peaked at 7 strikeouts. I wouldn't call you crazy if you went out and there was no big price tag on it and acquired Justin Verlander for a stretch run. The team that ought to do it actually is the Tigers. That will be fun. Rabbit hole. Ohtani only available in the outfield on FanDuel, not available as a pitcher on FanDuel. On DraftKings, only available as a pitcher, not available as an outfielder. He will score pitching points, but not hitting points on DK. He will score hitting points, but not pitching points on FanDuel. Greg Biancone, I'm with you. I had more glass now than I wanted, and it went south immediately. Not great. $5.09. Let's rock through these last couple of games. Slate like this, Monty, I wouldn't worry about it. That's something I know every now and again, especially on days like today. That's something that Gundacker will talk about. The way he terms it is, just grab both guys, throw a blanket over the win. And you're increasing your odds slightly of getting that little 5-point win bonus. So from this game, especially with 2 of the best pitchers of the day in this game, definitely you can absolutely take both these guys and not really worry about it. You're just looking, like I said, there are only a handful of guys that I would even tell you for sure are going to finish 5 innings today, between downside for just expected innings and then just general quality. These are two of your much more likely guys to give you 6 decent innings, 6+. So yeah, easy to go to both guys from the same game today. No issues with it whatsoever. Different slates, different answer. Nathan Eovaldi at 10-5, 10-5 across sites, 27.4% strikeouts against a sparkling little 4.9% walk rate. He has been fantastic this year. 1.50 ERA, a 2.78 xFIP, 0.88 whip, inducing a 13.2% swinging strike rate. This is the idealized version of Nathan Eovaldi, even keeping the ball down. 7.8 degree average launch, a 1.36% home run. I mentioned he did run into a little bit of injury issue. He scratched from a start, then another one to give him a little bit more rest, like we talked about last time. Came out of that 5 innings, 3 hit ball, no runs, 7 strikeouts. The one bump was 4 walks. That's his highest walk total of the year. That was against the Braves last time out. I think that's a little bit of just kind of a blip. Maybe it's something you file away, that it was a little bit more of a struggle, whatever. I think 6 innings is easily in the cards here because he threw a bunch of pitches in that game. We're perfectly fine with Nathan Eovaldi, full expectation, and you've got some strikeout in this lineup to work with. A lot of their key bats, pretty aggressive free swingers. That generates plenty of power. You can see all the home run totals, and we've talked about the Angels all season long. They are not off the board. 394 implied total puts them there. Some of these home run marks are at least respectable. 9.26 for Trout, some 7s, some 8s. So definitely a both-sided situation, but I greatly prefer the Eovaldi side of that. Soriano at 8,000, 8,400 is just going to be interesting at those prices, given the nature of this slate. 20% strikeouts, but that comes on an 11.5% swinging strike rate, which is an intriguing swinging strike rate. We've talked about this numerous times this year. He has better stuff than what that stuff plus mark looks like, than what the strikeout totals look like. He is capable of punching hitters out more than he's been. Last year it was similar, 20.7% on a 10.1% swinging strike rate. 30% strikeouts as a reliever 2 years ago on 14.8% swinging, 33.9. Obviously, these numbers are quite a bit higher, but there is an in-between here somewhere. The other strong attribute that I like about Soriano, and the reason I typically will have some faith in him more so than other low strikeout pitchers. You could argue, who was it a minute ago? Quantrill? Yeah, Quantrill, 19% strikeout versus Soriano coming in at 20%. What's the difference? I would argue that the difference is this negative 3.6 degree average launch, the 1.3% home run rate allowed. I'm going to take that away from some of the Rangers, and you can see that Corey Seager is still coming in at a 10+. You do have respectable power showing on the guys who deserve it. But I think there's plenty of upside for Soriano here. Day like today, he could easily come in and bend the slate. Either side, definitely in my lineups today. Did not talk long enough to get either of those lineups confirmed. So time-wise, we've got the 640. Then we jump to 705, 710, 745, and then this one picks up at 938 and then a 1005 for the last one. So you're going to have a little bit of a time gap between those. A little bit of opportunity to move pieces around if you're inclined to late swap. A lot less important in baseball in my mind, though. Rangers lineup, 415 implied total, definitely on the board against Soriano. But again, if we're talking about a guy who can reliably keep the ball in the yard, keep the ball down, and it's been mostly consistent throughout the year. I think I mentioned he gave up 3 home runs in the last 2 starts. That came over 13 innings pitched. And again, it was only 2 earned runs in each of those games, 5 strikeouts in each game as well. So some upside, some downside. That was against Philly and the Mariners. Definitely think similar-ish, but lower end quality results-wise team in the Rangers. This is, on the right day, a pretty deep 8-9 man lineup. It's just everybody continues to underperform their talent, or they hit, but not all at the same time. Josh Smith from the top at 36-29 with multi-position on both sides. Easy enough to get to. 9 home runs, 9 steals. Numbers have normalized around the edges for him, but still putting up a good year, a 118 WRC+. Always playable, low strikeout, an effective bat. Not a crazy go-to option, but somebody who's always in play from essentially anywhere in their lineup when he's filling in for other guys or when he's just getting full run. 380 plate appearances this year. Seager at 49-34 feels a little bit inexpensive for his quality. Barrels, hard hits are aggressively good, 15.8 and 54.9. Both numbers up from last year, both numbers up from 2 years ago. Striking out a little bit more, but also walking quite a bit more. 270, 377, 486, 216 ISO, a 426 xwOBA under the covers that tells you numbers should rocket up in these last 2 months of the season. 138 WRC plus, easily their best player. Marcus Semien at 42.29 has 13 home runs and 10 steals now, turning into an okay season. 88 WRC plus still has a ways to go, just a 132 ISO, but at least he's pulled things together, and it's coming on very similar Marcus Semien kind of contact. Similar-ish. Marcus Semien, at least, the walk rate is up. It's decent. The strikeouts are up a little bit. But Semien's been much better in the last month and change, 2 months. Adolis Garcia at 39.29. Every now and then shows us a little sign of life. 14 home runs, 10 steals out of him. Otherwise, terrible slash line. Just a 323 xwOBA under the covers. Gives us, the idea of normalization at least. But we don't know really, how much that means. It's an average-ish kind of number. The main thing about him is the incredibly consistent barrels and hard hits year over year. It's just the results that kind of went away. Jock Peterson at 23.25. Got to be a little bit interesting. All the home runs that he's hit. I know he's been kind of bad so far this year. 155 pretty weak plate appearances, just 2 home runs, a .099 ISO, but only 2,300, 2,500. The thing about it would be that we're taking the home run, down a peg with Soriano, but that is baked into that home run number. So it's there for you if you go to the Rangers. Wyatt Langford at 4,034 has 15 homers, 15 steals. Very high-end player in the heart of this lineup. Differently priced across sites. And FanDuel prices up a little bit in comparison to the DraftKings number. Super playable on either site, though. One of the higher priority Rangers bats. Evan Carter, a little bit more expensive on DK than on FanDuel. Opposite situation, 45 versus 28 across sites. He's got 4 home runs, 12 steals, a very good 330 on base, a 105 WRC plus that's kind of keeping him afloat. Hasn't really made great contact. Line drive kind of hitter, low strikeout, high-end walk rate. There's a lot to like there, but I don't love that DraftKings price. It's fine because everything else is cheap and it doesn't matter, but it's just an oddball kind of a price to find him at. Josh Young at 35.27 has 10 home runs, an otherwise underwhelming line, but we know there's more talent there. I like to see the 8% barrels, the 43.8% hard hits, if nothing else. Definitely think he's playable within your Ranger stacks. Playable, honestly, as a inexpensive one-off third baseman, too. And then Jonah Heim at 32.25, capable of driving the ball. Similar barrels and hard hits over the last couple of years. 9 home runs this season, a 72 WRC plus, more mix and matchy at catcher, but on a short slate, you can easily get to some shares. On the Angels side of things, Todd Strong just nailed it. Here comes the jock love. Yep. I mean, the guy has made a habit of mashing bad right-handed pitching over the entire course of his career. But I will say again, Jose Soriano has a knack for limiting home run power. Could also find some Ks against Jock. Jock's always been friendly as far as pushing a few strikeouts in the pitcher's direction. On the Angels side of things, Eovaldi, obviously the less likely to get got between these two pitchers. The lower end as far as the appeal of targeting the pitcher. But he's on the board, especially if he ends up short starting and we can get into the Rangers' pen a little bit, then by all means. Slate like this, we're not taking any bats off the board, but they're less appealing, I would say, than they've been in recent days. Zach Neto off the top, 15 homers, 21 steals, a 117 WRC plus. Mike Trout still creating runs 26% better than average, a 228 ISO. It's been an okay year. Solid barrels and hard hits out of him. He's striking out more than he has in years past. Drawing his walks, though, getting on at a 363 clip. There's a lot to like about a very affordable $4,500, $3,200 Mike Trout. Shanuel gets on base, resets the table for the guys behind him. So the idea being that Neto and Trout do their thing. Shanuel gets on base, and then Ward, Adele, Moncada, somebody comes through for Shanuel. 366 on base, a 114 WRC plus out of him. Exactly 114 WRC pluses out of 3 straight hitters, Shanuel, Ward, and Adele. All 3 guys pretty effective. 25 home runs on the board for Taylor Ward, 21 for Joe Adele. 256 and 234 ISOs. Monster years for power out of both hitters. Flawed hitters overall, but a lot of quality there if you're looking for home run upside. Eovaldi giving up just a 1.36, though. And again, another guy keeping the ball down pretty effectively. Could be a ground ball fest and a strikeout fest on his side. Moncada, solid barrels and hard hits this year. Same thing with Logan O'Hoppe. O'Hoppe's outperforming in that department. 18 home runs in 326 plate appearances. 2 Moncada's 8 in 158 chances. Moncada's got the better ISO at 235 in the smaller sample, 201 for Ohapi, 352 xWOBA versus a 330. Numbers are respectable across the board. If we're just looking for some pop, you can go to either one of those guys at price, at position, but they're a little bit more limited overall. And again, tough matchup. And then Luis Renifo and Gustavo Campero at the bottom of the lineup. Renifo having a bad year at 241, 283, 325, just a 68 WRC plus. Guy was a really good utility guy to move around the board last year, and it's just kind of cratered this year. Last season, he went 300, 347, 417, with 17 points better than average grading runs, stole 24 bases. That guy's just gone. And then Campero, sub Mendoza, sub 300 ISO, 68, sub 300 on base, rather, 100 ISO, 68 WRC plus, over 47 chances so far. Not really great in terms of premium contact. Not really anything to speak of last year. Pretty difficult to roster down the bottom of the lineup if this is the lineup we get. Nathan Eovaldi, Jose Soriano, Rangers bats, Angels bats bringing up the bottom. 3 of the 4 things are, I would say, very appealing and also very important to the slate. It would be the 2 pitchers and the Rangers bats. I would say the Angels probably bring up the end of that a little bit less important since they're facing Eovaldi. That said, there would be upside if they do get to him in the fact that he's going to be crazy popular. They're not going to be that popular. So from a game theory angle, do you want to grab some Angel stacks there? Take a low-owned contrarian approach? Not a bad way to build a lineup from time to time, and that is a high-quality team in terms of all the power available. Brian Woo's a monster at the end of the night. 2.91 ERA, a 3.59 xFIP, 24.3% strikeouts against 4.8% walks. Does nothing but just put up quality start after quality start. 126 2/3 in his 20 outings this year. Dude is just good. Well worth getting to, even in this ballpark. You can see on the other side, the A's are drawing a 4.42 implied total against. That is not nothing. All of the concerns are baked into the projection. All of the concerns are handled here. Brian Woo is just good enough to get through this team. 20.1% strikeout rate showing in that average, but that's slanted there by the 0% from Mr. Ernaiz if he's in the lineup. The key guys in this lineup, let's just do these guys up top. The guys we know will be there. 24.8% strikeout rate. That's gettable for Brian Woo. A lot of danger, obviously. We still got Nick Kurtz at 10.55 in the home run model. Lawrence Butler pulling a good number. Brent Rooker right behind Kurtz. Same thing with Shea Langoliers, Tyler Soderstrom. So nobody's saying Brian Woo's entirely safe. But on a day where nobody's really safe, some of the guys aren't even going to pitch full games, Brian Woo is probably your safest option. Well, second safest, maybe behind Eovaldi. Jeffrey Springs going the other way at 72 at 83. Pitching to a 4.13 ERA, 4.61 xFIP, 18.9% strikeout rate against a reasonable 7.8% walk. It's a little higher than you'd want it, but it's fine. It's just not a good strikeout rate overall. But again, at least it puts him in competition with the Cal Quantros of the world, with the even Sorianos of the world. What takes him out of that, I think, is the opposing lineup, which is excellent. The 5.18 implied total that they're coming in at, and this ballpark. There's a lot of downside there. Springs is pitching to nearly a 4% home run rate. That's in spite of inducing weak and medium contact kind of throughout. A lot of barrels here, a lot of fly ball. So when you're pitching on a fly ball trajectory already, those slight mistakes get hit a little bit better, squared up a little bit more, go for a barrel, and can get out of the ballpark. And that becomes your challenge with Jeffrey Springs. He is inducing a very solid 10.7% swinging strike rate, though. You got to give him that much. And this is a Mariners team that, if you remember back toward the beginning of the season, we were targeting this team, especially in their home games, not in this ballpark, but in their home games. We were looking at them for all the strikeout. That was before they really rounded into form, which they have done very, very much. But there are some Ks available here, even their very best players. So Springs, as we talked about way at the beginning of the show, on this slate, is on the board. Lower end, 7,200. It's a DraftKings play for sure. 83 on FanDuel. I don't know that you need to go to that much, but he is on the board. Again, we need to embrace some ugliness today. We need to embrace some chaos. Look at this, a reload. Maybe it came in. Nope. Mariners bats, JP Crawford, tremendous option for on base. That said, we've come down quite a bit. He's at 362. He was at 390 just a couple weeks ago. A little bit of a slide there. 7 home runs, 5 steals, still a very good table setter ahead of Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, Randy Arozarena, the bats that you really want to get to. This lineup was lengthened significantly by the addition of Josh Naylor. Makes them really, really interesting. Makes it challenging to put them together with other teams, though. If you're looking at FanDuel with catcher first base, where you're occupying that first base position and your util spot, just depends on what you're looking to put them together with. That does create a little bit of a conflict. It's entirely manageable, though, and they're both well worth it. Julio's up to 18 home runs and 20 steals. That season is already looking quite a bit better. A 113 WRC plus, just a tremendous asset, and 55.36 affordably priced. Those are high prices relative to most of the other options on the slate, but those are good. Those are good prices for him. Cal Raleigh has 41 home runs, and it is not yet August. Monster season. Like I've said a couple times, every single day he opens his eyes, he is establishing a new standard for catcher seasons, especially when it comes to fantasy. He's just been absurd this year. 17 home runs 17 in the home run model. I believe that's slate leading. Arozarena at 53.34, very affordable for a guy who's already got a 2020 season in his pocket. 350 on base to go with that, a 216 ISO, 134 WRC plus. What is not to like about Randy Arozarena this year? Monster barrels and hard hits, way up year over year, looking a lot like the guy from 2 years ago. He's just been very good for this team. Naylor hit for a lot of average while he was in the desert, 357 on base. He's got 12 home runs and 15 stolen bases to go with those numbers. Could show a little bit of power upside as well, especially in this ballpark. Tons and tons of power upside available for Josh Naylor. So love that option. A little more affordable than the other guys in that lineup. Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, Dylan Moore. All three of those bats are playable. 8% barrel rates all, 40+%, mid-40s hard hits for 2 of them. Dylan Moore is capable of getting into that range. A lot of strikeouts for 2 of those 3 players. Jorge is managing strikeouts so far this year. A lot of strikeouts in that game previously, but he's cut that more than in half, which is kind of silly. 16 home runs, slashing 252, 314, 457 for the season, 120 WRC plus. Up and down overall, a little bit of a roller coaster, but when he's good, very, very good this year. Garver gives you oddball catcher power. 6 home runs and 195 chances, a 133 ISO is kind of shaky at 296 XWO, but there's no foundation there. But we know that Mitch Garver can hit. We've seen it year after year. So a lot of strikeouts, high walk rate usually. 15 home runs and 430 chances last year, 19 and 344 2 years ago. And then Ben Williamson is down the bottom of the lineup. 254, 292, 312, just holding down that 9 spot. Rounding things out, we get the A's at that 442 implied total. Again, they are on the board. Kurtz, with all his power, is definitely on the board against anybody. And if one thing that you can nitpick with Brian Wu, 9.1% barrels allowed so far, 39 and change hard hits, 88.2 miles an hour of exit velo. Those are not problematic, but a couple of mistakes have gotten driven pretty effectively. 3.21% home runs. Again, not problematic at all, but also not zeroed out, not a negative launch angle type guy. So if anybody's going to hit some home runs against, maybe it's these A's. Butler for 44.29, 15 homers, 17 steals. Just a 98 WRC plus, was better overall last year, but hitting the ball consistently hard, really interesting player. Kurtz is way up there in price at 58.41, but has earned it. He's been like the best player in baseball over the last 2 months. 305, 378, 671, leading this team with 23 home runs now. Crazy first 284 plate appearances for this kid, and he is this good. Rooker having a great year, 22 home runs. Maybe it lit a fire under him that he got passed by the kid in half as many plate appearances. But he's just a great option on any slate. And honestly, $3,200, not really expensive on FanDuel. Yeah, he's facing one of the best pitchers of the day, but that's a good price for Brent Rooker upside. 46 on DraftKings also works pretty effectively. Shea Langoliers, 42 on DraftKings where you need catchers, 10.8% barrel, 45% hard hits. He's hit 18 homers this year, 242 ISO. Shea Langoliers is just a good power batted catcher, and that's a really affordable price where you need the position. 29 on FanDuel. You got multiple options at first base, catcher, util, but he is definitely in that mix. They help you out a little bit because Soderstrom's got the outfield eligibility along with that first base eligibility on FanDuel, just an outfielder on DK, so you don't worry about it. He's got 19 home runs, a solid slash line for his first full season, 194 ISO, 114 WRC plus. Another player who's just downright interesting. Miguel Andujar's got a good hit tool, 3,200. Very affordable for a guy with a 294, 326, 407 slash line, just to round out an A stack. If you're going to this team, Andujar's easy to reach, especially on FanDuel at that low price. Carlos Cortez, we've talked about a little bit over the last couple of days because he's just been so cheap in the he was leading off a couple times already and just stuck into this lineup. 286, 304, 381. Minor league numbers quite a bit better than that. There is some pop in that bat. Kid's not uninteresting if he's in the lineup. He's even more interesting if he leads off. Luis Urias is kind of interesting for a little bit of just odd duck power there. 8 home runs and 291 plate appearances. Nothing else of real quality to speak of outside of a maybe low strikeout this year so far. But in previous seasons, that was pretty high strikeout. So I don't really want to give him full credit for that. But there's a little pop in that bat from a sneaky place in the lineup that with a guy that nobody's going to roster. And then Darryl Hernandez is 1 for 4 so far. Last year, Sub Mendoza, 261 on base, over 135 plate appearances, and a 50 WRC plus. Not much of a bat down bottom of the lineup. Brian Wu, Mariners bats, A's bats, Jeffrey Springs at the bottom of that. You can move Springs up as suits your needs. It's that kind of day. Tiz says, definitely ugliness on this slate. I came in late, but I'm building lineups. I'm sitting here liking Cleveland and Freeland at the same time, and that's just gross. Yeah, sounds it. It is an ugly day. Michael, yes. So just to reiterate, because it's come up a couple times in the chat and it seems a little confusing. FanDuel, Ohtani is an outfielder today for 4,700. He is not going to score pitching points. He's not available as a pitcher. On DraftKings, Ohtani is in the 7,500 and is a pitcher. He is not available in the outfield. He's not going to score hitting points on DraftKings. Pitching only on DraftKings, hitting only on FanDuel. And it's really easy because they only let you put him at those spots. So kind of works itself out. You can absolutely play Shohei Ohtani in the outfield on FanDuel. In fact, I'd say it's probably a pretty high priority item overall for the slate. Let me just make sure I'm not making a liar out of myself by saying you can't put him in pitcher. Yeah, you cannot roster him at pitcher. You got it, buddy. Happy to help. Especially with questions that I just know the answer to on a day where my brain is in low gear. That said, you guys, one last look at the pitching board. That was all the games. Only a 6-gamer today. We got through it in pretty good short order as well. So here's our pitching slate. Pretty stark. That's where quality is. But good option. Good option. And then everything else is ugly. 4 innings of Ohtani on DraftKings. That's all you're getting. So if you're on DK and you're playing him as a pitcher, know that he's only getting 4 innings here. There is a modicum of upside beyond that nearly 11-point projection. It's probably 11 to 15. I think it puts him right in line with those 3 guys and probably still a little bit behind Warren and Soriano and certainly well behind those guys. You're definitely taking your lineup's life into your hands if you're putting Shohei Ohtani into a DraftKings lineup today, good as he could be in 4 innings. 6,000 for Freeland. Martinez at 68. Quantrill at 63. Any one of those guys can be in a lineup. Martinez is facing by far the toughest challenge there in the worst ballpark. It's probably between Freeland and Quantrill. There are arguments to be made in either direction. You probably get a little bit of either one of them. It's mostly a DraftKings conversation. I do think the offset with Miles Michaelis is a little bit real. You catch that Miami team on the right day, and it's still a lineup full of kids who are not necessarily all that great. It's just those kids in a lot of ways have been performing this year. So you've gotten a lot of upside, but that is in play. That is a dart you can throw at 66 and 65. Just have very low expectations for what your strikeouts and what your totals are going to look like. Same deal with Littell at a higher price on both sides. I don't like that option. Yankees are showing plenty of power. 4 guys with 11s in the home run model, but no Judge. A lot of swing and miss in that lineup. You could find your way. As we talked about, even with a couple runs against, you're looking at like 3 to 5 strikeout potential from almost all these guys. So it's just going to be a collision of who gave up the fewest runs, happened to get 1-2 more outs, maybe found 1 more strikeout than everybody else. That's really where we come down to. Yeah, Tiz, I hate the fact that there's weather in that game. I like the way Miami looks. I am on the, as much as I just talked about Michaelis there, I am on the other side of that. I actually like that Miami lineup against him. My hope was that they go a little bit under-owned. They're in my placeholder right now. So definitely getting into that spot. Home run pick of the day, Ryan McMahon from your New York Yankees. Went a little off the radar with that one, hopefully. Knock wood. Like the upside for the Yanks, but there's plenty of offense across the entire slate because pitching is very, very bad. Wu and Evaldi going to be crazy popular. I would imagine Will Warren gets very, very popular right alongside him. And then you just get mix and matches across all the different ownership with all these guys. So I encourage a diversity of combinations today. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a day where you want to take these two out and like let all these guys start combining, just because that probably renders a lot of those lineups just dead out of the gate. So you don't really want to go to that one. But it is an ugly day, gang. Embrace the chaos. Embrace the randomness, the ugly pitching, and get to some diverse builds. With that in mind, let me punch out of here. Let me get the website updated, rotoscouts.com. Check it out. Everything's under $1 a day over there. If you haven't already checked that out, I encourage you to go pick up a subscription. We got football coming right around the corner. That's included for your same under $1 a day. So are any other sports that land on that site. We always cover every main slate for basketball and hockey as well throughout the entire season and every single football game, whether it's standalone or part of the slate. Good luck out there tonight, gang. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do. At RotoScouts on Twitter or in the free Discord, which is linked down below this video. Hopefully you didn't see the hole in my armpit there. This is an old shirt, a lot of holes. But yeah, share those results when you do. Makes me feel better. If I'm not winning, I love seeing you guys winning. Even if I am winning, I love seeing you guys winning. So share those when they come through. And we'll be back tomorrow, Thursday slate. We'll see what that one looks like. Probably another lighter day, which is good because we've had a bunch of monsters lately. Anyway, gang, let me get out of here. See you soon.